What will the sign be? The disciples asked Jesus. What will that sign be, O Lord, that we might know that the end really is near? What will that sign be? Time and again, throughout many periods of the history of the church, folks have looked to scriptures such as this one from the gospel lesson we have today to help give answers about that thing we may be tempted to worry about, the end of the world as we know it. And I wonder if this practice keeps coming back around because we hope that if we hold up the scriptures to the light just right and look at them in just the right way, that we might find the secrets of Armageddon somewhere buried in there, right? A hint of what is to come, revealing something about what we're afraid of that might happen soon. But I think that every time these scriptures are used in this way to try to predict exactly what's going to happen in the near future, oftentimes those specific predictions, they never end up coming true, do they? And really, I think texts like this one today aren't really about predicting the exact happenings of the end times at all, as much as we may be tempted to place them in that sort of a category. No, I think these sorts of texts like Jesus is sharing with us today, these apocalyptic, over-the-top sayings, I think they're there to invite us to peer behind the curtain of the chaos of the world and look for what God is up to amidst it all. And as we hear of in this 21st chapter of the Gospel of Luke today, when Jesus talks about the temple, their worship space being destroyed in Jerusalem, and the coming times of persecution and hardship and arrests, he's not only reminding those folks that when life is hard, that God will be with them, but he's reminding us too in our day that when life is hard, and when fighting for injustice seems impossible, and when our religious institutions might literally be crumbling before our eyes, he also reminds us that he's with us. But it's easy to clutch at our pearls and hope for those good old days when we remember when things were perfect and everything was just so, and we didn't have to worry about anything. But that's not what really Jesus points us toward. No, Jesus points us towards the God of the cross, who walks through suffering with us and all humanity, so that we might then together be able to testify to this God who brings life amidst death, saving work amidst the chaos that we know too well. And this concept of testifying is an interesting one. For even though we are part of the Lutheran tradition known as evangelical Lutheranism, evangelical meaning the proclamation of the good news in word and in deed, even though we're a part of this tradition that calls itself evangelical, proclaiming the good news, right? Maybe testifying is another word we could use for that. Even though we're known as the Evangelical Lutheran Church that testifies to God's good news in the world that makes things right, we aren't always the best at actually testifying. And so I'd like to do a little bit of that today. I'm not going to make you turn to your neighbor. Don't worry about that. But as we've said before, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel reminds us that words create worlds. And so we then must be attentive to the ways in which the words that we're given, the stories that we're given in our lives and in our own shared experience, how those things form the world when we share them, how they form the world as God is intending it to be. And so in order to think about our own testimonies, I want you to think about in your life, about a time when you had an epiphany of faith. Think back to a time when deep in your bones you knew God's love, God's justice, God's transformation, God's grace in a profound way. Bring that to mind if you can. remembering where you were, who was with you, and what it was that you were experiencing. And as you hold this testimony in mind, I want you to follow my lead in a little call and response based on some of the words from the psalmist today that I've paraphrased. So keep that in mind, keep that epiphany, that testimony in mind, and repeat after me if you would. God has done marvelous things.
God has done marvelous things.
Your love, O Lord,
Your love, O Lord,
has been revealed to the nations.
has been revealed to the nations.
Shout with joy.
Shout with joy.
Sing.
Sing.
For God is with us through it all.
For God is with us through it all.
Indeed, God is with us through it all. God has been there before, God will be with us now, and God will be with us in the time that is to come. Which is perhaps exactly the sort of good news we continue to need each week that God gathers us as the church. So may such testimony, dear people, may such testimony lead us as we go from here. In the name of Christ, in Christ's generous way of life. Amen.
Amen.